Well, the first thing I'm going to do is create a new ASP website, and let's call it test one, and let's make it C#. And I'm using Visual Studio 2008, and I have my design template, which right now I'm starting off with a blank screen. I have my code behind, for my programming code, and I've got these in separate files, so it makes it a little bit easier. Right now I'm not using a database right now, so my app data is empty. And I've got my web config file, which we'll go over later. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a master page. So I'm going to create a new folder, and on my new folder, what I'm going to do is to create a folder just for master pages. And you may have one master page, or you may have many. And I'm going to right click this, and I'm going to add a new item, and the new item I'm going to add to this folder. You notice I've got the folder highlighted, and I right clicked, and I've got my new master page. And let's call it master main. And I want the code in a separate file. Okay. And from my design mode, I'm going to go to the menu bar and choose Layout and Insert a Table. So let's look at the layout for our master main page. And here we've got content placeholders, and these are in the header part of our HTML. So we don't want the exact same thing on every page. We want some flexibility, because if you have a contact page where people can learn how to contact your site, well, you don't want that to be exactly the same as if you have the main page or an employees page. So you want some flexibility in there. So you can place that flexibility between these content placeholders. Now, in the body of your web page, you also have a contact ID. So the idea is to have a template which is going to look the same throughout your website, but to have the flexibility to add different code to different parts of your web page, so you can have some variety on each page while still being consistent. I've added some div tags, and on these div tags we're using CSS to format these. So these div tags will correspond to the CSS, our style sheet, which we'll be adding here in a minute. Well, why don't we go get our style sheet now? Let's see where it's located at. I'm going to drag it over here and drop it in, and there I've got my default.css, and I'll give you a copy of this. But it's got our CSS for our header and for different parts of our web page. Okay. I'm going to try a different CSS. How about that one? See what this one looks like. Okay. Yeah, let's try this one. This looks good. Well, I went ahead and put in my MasterPage code, and I in my header, you'll notice that I have a content placeholder, and in the body of my page I've got my content placeholder. So this is where, when we make a new web page, this is where we're going to add our content. Now the rest of this is our master page. So on our master page we've got a footer, and we've got the head of the web page. And so these div tags are associated with this style.css. Okay, I think we've got everything. Here's what I'm going to do. I tell you what, I'm going to get rid of these my default.aspx. I've also got one in here called default2.aspx. I'm going to get rid of both of these. So I'm going to click on these, and I also want to get rid of the code behind, so I make sure that I've got both of these selected. And I'm going to delete these. Yes. Now what I'm going to do, I've got my master page in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click here, and I'm going to add a new item, and I'm going to add a new web form, and let's call this one default.aspx. So this is going to be our main page, and I've got select a master page in here, and I also want my code in a separate file. It makes it easier to debug when you've got them in separate files. If you've got them all, if you've got all of the programming code and the HTML code or server code in the same file, it makes it a little hard to debug. So it's easier when they're in separate files. And I'm using C# on this one. So I'm going to click Add, and when I do, it says, okay, where's the master page that you want to add? Well, I've got my folder called master page, so I'm going to select this, and when I do, it shows me the content. Right now I've only got one master page, so I'm going to select that one and select OK. Okay, and look, I've got two content. So the first one, remember, goes with this content which is up here in the header. So if you've got unique header information for your particular web page, you can add it here. Now my second one is associated with the content which comes down in the body of my web page. So that's where I'm going to plug my code in. Where'd it go? Here it is. So this is down in the body of my web page. So I'm going to place my content in here. So back to this one, and this is my second one. This is where the body of my code is, and I've already got some code written, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it and plug it in here, and grab that and plug that in, and let's see. Okay, so far so good. Okay, let's go ahead and save this. And then I'm going to view this in the browser. Right click, view in browser, and let's see if we've got our connections first. Okay. So we've got our master page, and that looks pretty good. Okay. And then we've got our underscore default that it inherits from, and our code behind page. Okay. So it looks like it might. I don't see any problems here. By the way, I drug in some images that I had, and again, I'll store this. I'll zip this up, and so you can take a look at this. And I had my style sheet. Okay, so I added those in there. Okay. Well, let's see how we do. Let's see if what happens when we run this thing. View in the browser. Okay, that seemed to work okay. So here we've got our master page, which is this section in here, and then along here we have the main content, and so each page you can change this to be whatever you want. And then down here on the bottom we've got our footer. So we've got our footer and we've got our header information, which should remain consistent as we go through here. Okay. We've also got our images in here, and you might notice that one thing that you want to do with your images, and let me go ahead and close this out, even though they're working here, when you upload those, one of the things that you want to do is, and I may have this, no, I don't have that. You want to run those at the server, so you want to put in run at server in there. Because these are running from the server, and so it may not pick them up if it's trying to look on the client to find these. Okay. So let me, where'd my image go? Let me go to my image tag, and let me put in here run at equal server. Save that. And I've got, and I think I had another image on here. Okay. Okay. Let me save that and try that again. All right. Okay. Well, I can fix that. Okay. Well, that will do it for now. That's style sheets and master pages.